access to the space station
Ask us
for official purposes. Okay.
You guys are, I guess, in competition now with some of the private spaceports like that in Mojave Desert. What sort of, is there enough launch capacity to support both facilities, or are you guys just trying to attract people?
Okay, so we're completely separate from the spaceport in Mojave and Spaceport America. That's non-NASA related, it's all commercial. I think that we are all trying to determine whether or not there's a true market for it. You know, first stab at the analysis says there is. As we're seeing within the commercial industry, you know, we all laugh and joke about the government being really slow, but believe it or not, industry is just as slow as we are when it comes to the space industry. You know, there's a real big issue with raising capital.
And the one thing, we have a lot of other services that we can provide that most other spaceports don't have.
Yes. So I was wondering which companies, apart from SpaceX, are actually bidding to take NASA astronauts up?
There's 3 spacecraft companies, and you got Sierra Nevada, SpaceX, and Boeing. And then they choose the launch vehicle they want to fly on.
Have you had any talks about involving international partners? There's one in Switzerland called Space Systems.
So yeah, we have been in some conversations with some international partners. We've had discussions with Space Systems. We've also spoken to Airbus. So conversations are on the table. Nothing's definitive as of yet.
But we are absolutely open. If international customers want to come and work with us, we'd love to do the deal.
It's being high power.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I worked a bit on the feasibility analysis for the UK spaceport. It looked good, so I think there is a market. But I was wondering how far into depth for your design you've gone. So you mentioned the 3-mile runway. We came to a similar number. Have you looked at other infrastructure that you need, refueling stations, you know, things like that? How far have you gone?
We actually just went through a full area development plan and looked at all different fueling, arrangements. The biggest problem is the blast danger areas and those QDs. So yes, we laid it all out and figured out where we want to put a number of the different customers and how we're laying it out.
How public is that going to be?
I don't know. I'll look into that and see what I can share with you.
And because I might be able to share UK spaceport stuff as well.
Okay.
Other questions?
For payloads, other than people, how closely are you going to monitor what goes up and what kind of qualifications are you going to have to do to launch your facilities?
For who?
For anyway, if I'm Mr. X and I want to, I buy a spot on SpaceX, say, for my scientific payload, are you going to qualify that? Who qualifies that? Who's in charge of payload investigation?
So, okay, so if you are a customer and you're working with SpaceX and you want to launch a payload, the onus is on SpaceX. I'm trying to say, not say Space Force.
SpaceX stands alone.
Okay.
Right.
We do not meddle in their business at all. As long as they don't drop a rocket on us, we're happy.
I mean, there are certain aspects that we do care about, as long as what they're doing is safe to the range. They're not dropping rockets out of the sky on facilities that people or the general public because we can be held liable for it. But for the most part, we try to get out of the way and let them operate as safe as possible without government oversight.
NASA exemption rockets and shuttle from given since decades and decades. Is there a way of refurbishing the whole launch pad, or are they just?
They're actually refurbishing where they can, but a lot of the infrastructure is so old, it makes more sense to rip a lot of it out and just throw it in. All the cables and the cable trays, 30-year-old cable. It's time to clean it all out and start over. But, mobile launcher, we reuse some of that from another program. Launch pads, you're still using some flame trench, you're putting new ablative material in it. But as much of it as they can reuse, they're reused, but where it makes sense to rip it out, they rip it out.
In the time frame
example, how many years you foresee to accommodate all variety of the lunches? Because I know when they decided to launch, for example, pizza lunch or Soyuz from Guru, it took quite a number of years just to accommodate the lunch pad to make it vehicle compatible. Now you show so many different lunches. What is your like now? In the first term, you're going to accommodate lunch or X, B, and then the rest will come after, or this is how the...
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to scheduling. We have, let me back up a little bit. So, like you said, we've been doing this for a number of years. So I think we have scheduling down to a T. So it comes down to coordination. We have people that they'll be working with within the Kennedy Space Center to make sure that everything is manifested. If there's a slip, depending on the company, what the ramifications are of that slip, and we may have to slip other customers, but then that goes into other issues right there. But as far as that's concerned, again, it's scheduled. And we're pretty confident that we can work around everybody's needs, based upon the customers that we have spoken to and what their launch rates are.
If you're asking when are the next launch pads actually going to be ready, SpaceX, even though they just took over Pad A, I bet they'll be ready to fly in 18 months. SLS, they're supposed to fly around 2018.
And right now, we're also looking at the idea for building a third launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center.
So, in terms of the range safeties, with SpaceX having the launch of the first stage coming back to the same launch pad, what's NASA's thoughts on having a stage that happens itself back to the off since that's never been done in the previous NASA pad?
Short answer, makes us nervous.
But actually, as part of the master plan, we're setting aside a separate area for vertical landings for people to come back and land the vehicles.
It's going to be a separate pad, not.
It wouldn't be on the same pad.
Right.
Exactly. Because they wouldn't want to do it, because what happens if they do it and it takes out the pad and you can't launch in the future? So it just makes more sense to have a separate vertical landing pad.
And we're trying to designate, kind of glazed by this real quick, but this right here, the future land use, this shows different zones, commercial zones across the center where we will be allowing specific activities to take place. So we are taking account of that. That's one of the possibilities.
And I apologize, I didn't put links in here, but like our master plan was just posted on the internet. So if you want to look at the whole master plan of KSC, it's out on the web now. So just come to me and I'll get you the information.
If the Air Force is still in charge of the range, has the Air Force commoditized their services for the commercial companies?
You want to take that?
Jokingly, so what we've seen over the past probably 7 years is there's been a little bit of concern between the commercial customer and the range. The range sometimes, follow rules to a T and do not allow for enough flexibility for the commercial customers. So what we're starting to see is a lot of the customers are wanting to come to us to handle specific range activities on their behalf. So instead of going to the Air Force to do 100%, they may go to the Air Force and do only 65% with the other platform.
And actually, one other thing that's very interesting, they actually put out an announcement earlier this year asking if a commercial entity would be interested in taking over and managing the whole range capability as a commercial business. The problem is they have a lot of very antiquated equipment. It's breaking down, it's causing launch slips, and they know they have a problem and they're not getting more budget. So they're looking pretty hard on how to solve this issue.
One more question.
So as far as I understand how the U.S. Congress do the finances, so where is all this money going for government spending?
Where do you get the money?
Yeah.
To do that? NASA gets a fixed budget because part of the NASA mission is to enable commercial customers. Carved out a slice of it specifically to help to build some of the infrastructure to support the commercial customers.
It seems like Air Force is a wider range of finance for government than NASA.
That is true, but when you look at the space activities taking place it's mainly us. Their component is primarily race safety.
To protect the public.
Right. Right, and they control the restricted airspace that sits above the
So it's
space.
more like scanning what's going on than do some.
Right, and conducting the rate safety analysis as well, which is what customers are wanting us to step in and do for them.
Save some money. Give it to the public.
We're gonna
Thanks, guys.
let's hear it for